No, brilliant. I love your openness with that, Mark. That's so exciting to describe where you are, and it's so useful for people rather than you just sort of downloading a creed on top of their head to say this is where I find myself. I was with a priest the other day, and the priest said to me, he didn't say it with he wasn't disturbed. He just said it as an observation. He said, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that you're really bringing people into an encounter with orthodoxy. And my dad later said to me, he said, well, no, you're trying to bring people into an encounter with God. You know, uh, Orthodoxy is a wonderful thing, and anybody that knows me knows that that is the deep tradition of which I am currently being formed in. But when we gather, you, me, and others at Skinboat, that is not something I'm trying to the encounter is the thing. Everything comes from the encounter. Um, Again, Joseph Campbell always said, be careful that you don't have a religion that is defending you against a religious experience. And so you talking now about your interest in the personal and that Jesus has to be part of that iconic relationship that you're having, that for me is very telling in my own interest in place. So one of the things, again, that used to kind of wash me out a bit as a youngster was being continually told about the Great Commission and how Christianity all over the world, it's just this great universal thing that we can all kind of latch into as if it was easy. However, what we do know about Christianity is as soon as it grows roots anywhere, it does take on a regional flavor. Regionality, nationalism is the great shadow in Orthodoxy. It is the potential great abiding sin of it, that it is such a strong regional thumbprint. It doesn't have enough of the universal about it on occasion, not always. But what I am interested in, I can't help but be interested in, is what would the story of Genesis look like if it happened on Dartmoor? What would it happen if it looked right where I lived? Because of course it did. It did. As a mythologist, I would be cutting off my own intelligence not to follow that kind of associative road. So with my own students, I'm always saying, walk out into the fullness of a Blakean dawn and pay attention to what is continually announcing itself to you. Any encounter with God robs you of the illusion of scarcity. But an encounter with God can be tremendously subtle, and you have to give yourself permission in a way to go, wow, my encounter with God happened in a conversation at the greengrocer's. It happened, you can't see this, but 2 foot away is my very, very ancient cat, Harry. And I have encounters with God looking into the eyes of Harry. It is, I don't worship Harry, but these pinpricks of the eternal, this overused phrase that I tend to come up with, there's something about that. And to go back again, I think when things start to fall apart, I think when Christianity loses its political oomph, I can only breathe a sigh of relief because something real may announce itself. And it is still, for me, the great, extraordinary, ancestral kayak, as I said, to sort of fall. It's the kayak of my people. It's the kayak of my people. I've said before, again, it's not an original thought, really. The first half of our lives, thinking about death, the first half of our lives generally it has a chameleon quality where we are trying to adapt to circumstances we find ourselves in, a new school, a new relationship. And then midlife, where, God willing, you're beginning to become a mentor to others. And then finally, if you live long enough, something of an elder. That is no longer the putting on of personas, but the emerging of presence. And mercifully for me, in the velocity of exposure that Christianity has undignified me with, it's the most undignified experience I've ever had, and I needed it. In that, I find for the first time, slowly, my own experience of death, whether that is 2 years away or 40 years away, I have no clue. I find simply resting in the mind of Christ extremely reassuring in that moment. I imagine our life is similar in the sense of most people in their 50s and upwards. I'm going to a lot of memorials, a lot of funerals. I'm holding hands with people as they are dying, and better people than me will find that probably blissful. I find it shattering. I find it shattering to see someone that I knew as a big, warm, ebullient personality, little more than a skeleton in a pair of pajamas, crumpled up on a bed, smelling of death. That is not revealed to us in the West as it is on the River Ganges. So part of me at the moment is taking that. When I go to sleep at night, I sort of fall asleep into God. I know it sounds odd, as I'm drifting into unconsciousness. That's the way, because I'm practicing. Because there'll come a point, if I'm given the consciousness that I will know is dimming, I want to somehow remember I've been here before and allow myself more fully into eternity.